So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Now in today's video guys, we've got our complete game plan for FC24. So all 4 sets of formations and tactics that I will primarily use in a game of FC24 and when I will use each set of tactics. Yeah, because there's like 4 different sets of tactics to go through, I'm not going to discuss them in as much depth as I usually would for a singular set of tactics. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right into the video. If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable. And if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. So guys, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware by now, I am a big 4-2-3-1 merchant when it comes to FIFA or EAFC. I've used it for many years and it is by far my most favourite formation of the past few years. The reason I like it so much is because it is so balanced in both the attack and the defence. You can play narrow with it and you can play wide with it. So it's just really good in many situations. And this is the formation that I will primarily use when I go right into a game. So the tactics we use, we have the defensive style on balance, guys. It does give you the most control over your defence. So if you want to press, you can. And then if you want to drop off, you can as well. So it does just give me the best control. For the defensive width, guys, I have this on 38 because I think it's primarily better to have a more narrow and compact defense to block out those attacks through the middle. Still important to have a bit of width, however, to block out so you can cover the wider areas in case an opponent goes down the wing. Also, for the depth, guys, I'm currently rocking 55, but sometimes it's 60. Yeah, I just prefer these defensive lines and the depth because I don't always like the automatic press of 71 depth, so I don't really use that. So 55 to 60 is where I find my sweet spot to be. For the build-up play, guys, we have this on balance because it's the most controlled and varied form of build-up where you can use each form of build-up whenever you want, essentially, so that is great. For chance creation, guys, direct passing, very important because it's the only tactic which will allow you to break through those park the bus defenses, as it makes your attackers commit these runs, and then when the defender follows that run, your attacker will track back so you can cut back to them. So a little bit boring, but very effective nonetheless. For the attacking width, guys, I like to go for a bit of a balanced width, anywhere between like 40 and 50, I'd say is pretty balanced. Obviously, the lower it is, the more narrow it is. So 43 has been working really well for me. Not really a specific number you have to use. Players in box, guys, I have this on 5 so I can get a few players into the box, but we don't overcommit everybody. Corners and free kicks, we have them both on 1. Moving on to the player instructions for this 4-2-3-1, we have the striker on stay central and mixed attack. Stay central is obviously very useful because it keeps your striker in those central positions primarily, so you've always got somebody in the middle to help you out and finish off your chances. Sometimes they can get a little bit lost on balanced width. Mixed attack's great for a one striker setup as it means you get more out of your striker and they're not just making the same one-dimensional runs over and over again. Mixed attack helps you out in the build-up. For the central cam, guys, we just have them on get into the box across and leave them alone. We don't touch them all that much. For the right cam and the left cam as well, we also just have them on get into the box across so they're not hesitant to get into the penalty area. Basic defensive support is also really nice on these players because it makes your counter attacks a lot faster and it's easier to break down your opponent when you win the ball back, I think. For the left CDM, the more defensive minded midfielder, stay back, cut passing lanes, cover center. The most defensive settings you can use, so on your more defensive CDM this is great. For the right CDM, I use more of a box to box style player, so I leave them on the default settings so they can do a bit of everything and then just pop them on cover center as well. For the left back, guys, or the right back, depending on which one your most attacking is. So in my case, I'm going to use Llorente when I'm attacking. I have them on balanced attack and overlap. This is to add extra width to the attack and basically stretch out your opponent's defense. Then for the other fullbacks, stay back while attacking and overlap, so you always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, but when you send them on a run forward, they'll make the overlapping runs as well. I kind of alternate between these fullbacks. Sometimes I think Havertz is better on the balanced attack option. Other times I think Llorente, but it's just a bit of experimenting. You guys can do what you want there. If I want to be a little bit more direct, I'll often use the 4-3-2-1 formation because I find it to be very good for most of the meta in this game, you know, like the through balls, the direct passing tactics. This seems to be really good for that, just overall, really. The 4-3-2-1 for the past couple of years has been great. So if the 4-2-3-1 is not really doing it for me in attack, I'll switch to the 4-3-2-1, which is a little bit more attacking, and yeah, it's a bit more direct in my opinion. So defensive style, again, we have this on balance, gives you really good control over your defense. defense. The width, again, we have a nice narrow and compact one on 40, blocks out all those attacks through the middle, guys. Depth, again, we have this on 60 with this formation. Like I said, I like any depth from about 55 to 60. That seems to be my sweet spot personally. For the build-up play, guys, we have this on balanced. Again, it gives you the most controlled, varied forms of build-up. You can pretty much use whichever tactic you want whenever you want, so slow build-up or fast build-up. You can basically switch between whatever you want. Chance creation, again, guys, direct passing, because that is the most meta option in the game. The width, guys, we have it a bit more narrow than the 4-2-3-1 because I find this to be a more narrow formation than the 4-2-3-1, so I like to utilize its strength and have a bit more of a narrow attack. That is why we have 37 width. Players in box, we have this on 6, which is one more than the 4-2-3-1. Just that extra player can sometimes help you get the edge over an opponent. Corners and free kicks, again, guys, we just have these both on 1. Now for the striker in the 4-3-2-1, we just have them on stay central and mixed attack, kind of similar to the 4-2-3-1, where because it's a one striker setup, you kind of want your striker to be more varied and not just forced to do the same thing over and over again by getting in behind. So mixed attack, I just think, is a bit more balanced and a bit better in the build-up as a result, but stay central, obviously very important, guys. For the right forward, we have them on stay central and get in behind. Stay central obviously keeps them in the more narrow pockets of space. If you have them on balance width or drift wide, they can sometimes get drifted out way too wide, and it makes it a bit like a 4-3-3, which is not the idea of this formation. We do have getting behind on this player because obviously they're a winger type player. They have a lot of pace, so we want to utilize that with the getting behind instruction. On the left forward, guys, we have them on comeback on defense, as it makes it defend in a 4-man midfield, which makes you really, really solid in both the attack and the defense, because the 4-4-2 shape, you can have really good coverage of both the narrow areas and the wide areas with the way that the midfield is set up, guys. Makes it very difficult for your opponent to attack. For the left centre mid, guys, the more box-to-box player, again, leave them on the default settings, pop them on cover centre. The middle centre mid, the more defensive one, stay back and cover centre. And then the right centre mid, we can use an actual attacker because, like I said, we've got this left forward on comeback, which will make him defend as a left mid in a 4-4-2 shape. So this right centre mid on the cover wing instruction will make him defend as a right mid. So you can use an actual attacker here, pop them on get forward and get into the box across as that extra man to help you out. On one of the fullbacks, again, balanced attack and overlap to give you that extra width, stretch out your opponent's defense, really underrated. As you can see, we use Havertz on this one. I kind of like to switch the sides that I use when I'm changing tactics, as it confuses my opponent. For the right back, in my case, the more defensive one now, stay back while attacking and overlap to have at least 3 back at a time. And then, guys, for the 2 centre backs and the keeper, I just leave them alone. Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but I have noticed around 90% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you are enjoying the content or finding it helpful, please consider adding that subscription, as it does help me out massively. Also, don't forget to drop a like on the video as well. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you enjoy. Let's continue. If the other formations aren't quite cutting it for me in attack, we will try something different with this 4-1-3-2, which is primarily taken from Div10 Moment on Twitter. I've linked this many times now, but I will put it in the comment section if you guys are interested in the original post. So we use this because it's a little bit different, gives you something a little bit more varied, and can throw your opponent off. So defensive style, again, balanced. The width we have on 35, which is a bit more narrow. The depth we have, again, on 60, as that is my preferred depth personally. Long ball is really useful at bypassing the press, because obviously you can just launch it over the swarm of players that are pressing the ball carrier. Direct passing, again, is very effective, as it is the best at beating the meta of the park the bus defense. And then the width, guys, we have this on 30, a bit more narrow, but it does give you a lot of options even so down wide with the left mid and the right mid. So you have like narrow players and you also have wide players. You'll also see why this works with the fullbacks as well. For the players in box, guys, we have this on 5, which is really balanced, of course. Corners and free kicks, again, we have this on 1. Now, for the player instructions, the left striker is completely left alone. This player has complete freedom. You do not touch them, guys. For the right striker, we just have them on stay central, so we always have at least one striker in those central positions at all times. But for the rest of the instructions, completely left alone. For the middle centre mid, like the box-to-box type player, the only centre mid in this formation, actually, we have them on get into the box across and cover wing. This is what we have on the centre mid, guys. For the right mid and the left mid, come back on defence to ensure that we have the correct amount of players back. Ensures that these players take up the correct position when we don't have the ball. They can get a little bit lazy on basic defensive support. Cut inside is useful as they start out wide and then make those runs into the narrow areas. Come short's really useful as well for beating players that use press, as you get more short passing options and it's easier to keep the ball by passing it around. Get into the box across, again, so you know, these players aren't hesitant to get into the penalty area. For the CDM guys, stay back, cover center, pretty self-explanatory. This is a defensive player. You don't want them going forward. And then for the left back, join the attack and mixed attack. So you've always got this fullback giving you an extra option going forward. They will, you know, sometimes overlap and sometimes invert depending on the situation. And then the right back, balanced attack and mix. So they're a little bit more passive than the other fullback, but they still help you out going forward. And then the two centre backs and the keeper, I leave them alone again. If I want to see out a game, guys, let's say I'm winning and I just want to keep it simple and see out the game, I'll often use the 4-4-2, which is, again, a really good formation this year. The reason I don't start off with it by default is because I think it's a little bit boring and can be a little bit flat. But that being said, when you are winning a game, I think this formation is great for seeing out the game and sometimes getting that quick counter-attack to, you know, completely seal the game. So on this 4-4-2, again, default, we have it on balance for the defensive style. Width we have on 45, which is a little bit wider, but it works because the 4-4-2 has a lot of defensive players, so you can spread them out a little bit to get greater coverage of the pitch whilst, you know, not making too many gaps. Depth, again, we have this on 60, my personal favorite depth. Build-up play, guys, balanced. Again, most controlled, varied form of build-up. You can pick and choose when and where you use each style. Direct passing, again, for the chance creation, because if we're going to get into the final third, we still want to be able to score, which is why direct passing is great. For the width, we have this on 51, which is really balanced. Yeah, it's just worked really nicely for me. You can pretty much use whichever width you want. So if you want it to be a bit more narrow, you can. Or if you want to up it even more, that is fine. Players in box, guys, we have this on 5. Again, really balanced. And then corners and the free kicks, we have these both on 1. For the two strikers, stay central and mixed attack on both of them. Really balanced instructions. Stay central obviously keeps you having these strikers in the primarily central areas, which is really good if you win the ball back, as you have many ways to, you know, get the ball out of your defensive zone and get it up the pitch. You can aim for these two players. For the left mid and the right mid, come back on defense, cut inside, get in behind and get into the box across. Obviously, if we're defending, we do want these players to be back. We want to ensure that they're in the correct position. Cut inside is useful as they start out wide and make the runs into the more narrow areas. A good attacking AI movement there. Get in behind so, you know, we can quickly break out and these players will utilize their pace to relieve pressure from our defense. Get into the box across again so these players are not hesitant. For the left centre mid, the more defensive minded player, stay back while attacking and cover centre. Again, really defensive options on this player. For the right centre mid, the more box to box style player, we leave them on the default settings and pop them on cover centre so they're not restricted all that much. And then on the more attacking fullback, we still have them on balanced attack and overlaps, so we do have an attacking threat because it can be a little bit too flat and a little bit too narrow when we have both fullbacks on stay back while attacking. So even though we are trying to see out the game, I still think it's important to have one fullback that can help you out with width and stuff like that. For the other fullback, stay back and overlap again, so you always ensure that you have at least 3 back at a time, and then the 2 centre backs and the keeper, I leave them alone. But yeah, that is my complete game plan for FC24 right now, guys. If you have enjoyed or found this useful, please be sure to drop this a like, sub to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace!